Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Good. How are you doing this morning?
So I went to a friend's birthday party last night and he had a live band in a very small space. So I can't really hear very well.
Jeez, what kind of band was it? Like a rock band?
It was an 80s band. It was an 80s local band.
Oh, oh, I
They're
love
so
it.
good too. And it
I
was
love it.
completely 80s themed. So it was so much fun, especially after being like cooped up all year. But my ears are still ringing from it. It's a little crazy.
Oh my God, that's exciting to finally be out like that after so long.
I know.
Oh my,
It was nuts.
oh my
But
gosh. I went to Disneyland yesterday. We were there all fucking day from like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. until like 10. It was insane.
that's so fun.
Yeah, it was my husband loves it. I love to make him happy. So
Oh,
whatever makes him happy.
that's so
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. But it's so cool to see like things getting back to normal slightly in a way because it's odd. I'm not gonna lie. Like to go from like everyone wearing masks, no one being near each other, people like running from each other, to like crowds of people with no mask watching fireworks shows. I'm like, this is a little surreal. Like I feel like this whole last year we went through, was it a dream, a nightmare, some kind of sick joke to get Trump out of office? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I know it's a little crazy.
Yeah, we've lived through something insane.
But the fact that we're doing all of this and we're going out, and like when I watch the news and I see like other countries that are still locked down and not
Mm,
getting vaccinated
mm,
and people are dying because their governments aren't taking care of them, like I feel for them.
yeah.
And I feel kind of like an asshole by going out sometimes because I'm like, well, I
Really?
can, but
Oh,
a
I
little.
mean, I could see that. I wouldn't, you know,
I mean, there's
because
no reason for me not to just because other people, yeah, I get that. But like
mhm,
at the same time, I feel for the fact that like maybe a better way to put it is I'm really grateful
okay.
for where I live and that I
Yeah.
am a citizen here.
I
Sounds so like patriotic, but like
I know it sounds insane, and I know it's like some people find it weird for like Black people to be super patriotic, but I'm actually really patriotic about being an American. Yes, we have our history here and everything, but I'm here. This is where I was born, and it's
right,
all I know. And I feel like America does. We have our holes, we have our issues, but at the end, there's people that get us out of bullshit when shit happens. And I really appreciate that about this country. It's like it was actually nice and refreshing to see in this last election that we can save ourselves from ourselves.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the things that make us so great can also ruin us, but at the same time, we have a check and balances, and it makes me happy. And also makes me happy to know that there's people that fighting even for science, period.
Right,
For period. That's it. You
yeah.
know, this whole shit that's going on with people that don't believe in scientists anywhere. I'm like, okay, where's that coming from? Like,
Flat
obviously,
earthers.
people are not getting educated.
That's
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyways, I know it's like turned super political all of a sudden.
so I had an idea for today's episode.
Hmm.
I was thinking we could do a little conversation about chemistry versus compatibility.
That's a great idea because they actually had that written down.
Because yeah, I did too, and I just
Hmm.
realized that. But I've been asked about it quite a bit on social media lately, and there seems to be serious confusion between them. And I thought maybe we could just like talk about it and then like share some of our own like stories where we've been confused and things like that.
Mm. I just went off camera for a second because I was just like smoking. I didn't want it to be on like recorded on camera in front of all our wonderful guests. You guys, I do partake in marijuana.
But
It's
now
part
you
of
just told them what you're doing. So what's
saying
the
it.
difference?
Saying it is a little different than actually them watching me doing it.
That's hilarious. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. But so chemistry, we've talked about it. And what is your experiences with chemistry? Like, I think that because you said it in the episode a few weeks ago that chemistry and love is something that grows over time. So do you think chemistry, like if you see someone and you connect eyes with them and they're like, oh my God, he or she's amazing or whatever, do you feel that that's real, or is it just simply lust and just, oh, you look good to me, I want to do you, that's it?
So I think people confuse chemistry and lust actually,
Hmm.
because lust, when you lust after someone, there's a sense of like fantasy involved. And I don't think chemistry and lust should be compared, actually. I don't even think they should be put together. Um, because you don't need lust in a relationship, but you do need to have chemistry. And I think that's a big distinction that people really need to be aware of. That while if you lust after someone, that's all fun, but that's going to fizzle out. That's going to just probably blow up in your face, actually, because usually if you're lusting after someone, they're not returning any of the same feelings. Now, if you have chemistry with someone,
Hmm.
then usually there's a mutual attraction happening, right? And so chemistry is not just having a sexual desire towards someone. I don't
Okay.
know why we've kind of come to that point where we think like that's what chemistry is. That's sexual chemistry.
You know what? I feel like in the gay community sometimes, because sex is how we've learned about ourselves and each other and our identities. I think a lot of it may happen in a straight world too, but I only can talk from a gay person. I feel like a lot of people, they have a really good sexual connection with someone and they think that that's chemistry. Like, oh, he makes me feel so good in bed. So we have to be together. We have to be the perfect match. When in really, I feel like that's not the case. I had now my husband and I, we have our own chemistry. We love each other. We're very passionate in our relationship. But I've had past relationships where it was just, I thought like, oh my God, this guy, we have such great sex. I'm feel like a whole different person when we're together. But then as soon as that doesn't happen anymore, we're not really talking. We have nothing to talk about. We don't share anything. I don't care about what he has to say, his thoughts, or anything like that. So that's in hindsight, I'm starting to think, was that a lack of chemistry and just pure lust?
That was a lack of compatibility. Oh, that's perfect.
Mm,
You would think if you were listening to us right now that we set that up, but we did not. That was just a natural like segue there.
hmm.
That is a lack of compatibility. It was perfect.
Ah.
So you need to have compatibility to sustain a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
for it to get past that beginning attraction phase to
Mm-hmm.
grow into something long term. Compatibility is when your lifestyles match up.
Mm,
And I don't want people to misunderstand, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people in general that they want a partner who has everything in common with them.
mm-hmm.
Well, I like to do X, Y, and Z, so my partner should like to do X, Y, and Z. Well, that is not how relationships work.
No, absolutely not.
You have to have some things line up. You
Mm-hmm.
do need that in order to have compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to have lifestyle choices in common.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it will be extremely challenging for someone to not have anything similar. So here's an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You meet someone and you have massive passion for them, sexual chemistry, right?
Yeah.
Can't stop thinking about them when they're not around. You
Mm-hmm.
fantasize, you know, what their kiss and their touch is like, even though you've had it, but you're still kind of fantasizing about it a little bit. You get
Mm-hmm.
distracted at work because that person is on your mind, things like that. That's chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, at the end of the day, you're vegan, they love meat, you
Mm.
like to go hiking and do outdoor activities, they're more of a video game player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you like to travel internationally, they've never been outside the country,
Or their city.
right, or their city. Yeah, that does
That
happen.
does
So,
happen.
like, if you keep going down this list, right? Multiple things down this list, and now you're seeing, okay, we don't our lifestyles don't meet up. They're not
Mhm,
matching at all.
mhm,
Can we find a common ground for them to kind of intersect at some point? Or is this just going to be you live your life, I live my life, and we just happen to be attracted to each other?
Mm.
So that's part of the problem. And, I've seen with friends even where they come together and everyone goes, there's no way you two are going to work. You are
Mm.
so different. But
Yeah.
what they do is they start finding new lifestyles
Mhm.
choices that meet in the middle.
Mhm.
So they start to give up some of their old things and find new things together that they can share. And
Yeah.
that is extremely healthy, but that's a little bit more rare.
Yeah, it is rare, but I will say I've seen it in a few relationships out here. Mostly, oddly enough, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, interracial relationships, where automatically they're coming from two totally different worlds. So for each of them, there's something to learn right off the
Mhm.
start. And what I'm noticing is that they're together, and me and my friends or acquaintances and people I know look at them and they're like, how do they work? Like, I can't see them sexually together. I can't, but they have a strong connection. They always talk. They're always together. You see one with the other all the time. So there must be something said to that, because I feel like if you're learning about someone, it makes it exciting. Because my husband, he's Irish Catholic. I'm an African American dude from like New Jersey. Two totally different worlds. He comes from almost kind of sort of like that Kennedy world where, it's Massachusetts, Boston, Cambridge, that whole image and
Wow.
shit.
Yeah.
I come from like the suburban, I guess, black neighborhood in New Jersey that's adjacent to Newark. Two totally different worlds. We would have never met in a social situation unless it was like a bar or something. We met like on a dating app. We talked for a while. But us being together and me learning about his life and him learning about my life has made it an adventure, because there are things that I don't want to do, but he gets me to do it. And there are things that he's completely not into, but he'll do it because I like it. And it's actually made a nice balance in our relationship. Like, for instance, I'm not crazy about thrill rides, but my husband
Mm.
loves them. But in our relationship, there's been times where I've done something that had to do with like something thrill seeking. And then there's certain moments in that adventure where I had to fall back on him. And now it's created a bond between us because we share these experiences where I would never have done, but because I've done it and something happened during it, not something bad, but let's say I slipped or something and he was there to catch me, something simple like that. I feel like it created this bond between us, and it almost feels like it makes us more compatible because we're so different. Like, does that help with compatibility, being so different sometimes and still have, like, we both enjoy traveling, we both enjoy eating out, we both enjoy live music.
Right. Those are those lifestyle choices,
Okay.
right? Your
Mhm.
lifestyles match up. So your day to day is your lifestyle.
Mhm.
Things that are really important to you, like your day, how you go about your day, here's an example. I had an ex that loved to sleep in all the time,
Mhm.
loved the room dark. I like it really light so the sun comes in the morning and wakes me
Mhm.
up and I can get up early.
Mhm.
And so like as as small as that sounds, it's just an example of a lifestyle choice that does not match up.
Yeah.
And if you can't find some middle ground on things like that,
Mhm.
then that gets very challenging, and it can continue maybe it's that, maybe it's the way you both eat, maybe it's the schedules you both hold don't line up. You know what I mean? Like it can just pile and pile and pile and pile on. And then you
Mhm.
realize like we're not compatible for each other, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of chemistry there. And sometimes that is when it's really hard to let go of a relationship.
Mhm.
I had someone reach out recently on social media asking me for advice about, you know, what should he do? He's been in this relationship with his girlfriend for, I think it was 4 years.
Mhm.
They are extremely compatible
Mhm.
and they get along so well. They never fight, but he's really missing the passion, the chemistry. Chemistry has never been there. And so
Mhm.
what do you do in those situations, right? When you're like, gosh, we get along so well. I don't know. I hate to give up a relationship that's so easygoing
Yeah.
and fun, just to have chemistry or compatibility, or to have that passion.
Passion, life, I guess.
Right. And so that is a personal choice that you make,
Hmm.
you know, but sometimes when people say like, I want to marry my best friend, and then they end up with them 4 years later, realize this is my best friend, but there's no passion.
Hmm.
Sometimes a best friend is just a best friend and they're not
Yeah.
meant to be an intimate partner.
Yeah. I
So,
do find that that statement is slightly strange because I do not consider my husband my best friend. Like, he knows a lot. I don't even know if I have a best friend. Like, he's my closest friend, honestly, because I live with him. I'm with him every day. I should step back a little because he does call me his best friend, and I don't want him to hear this. He's like, I'm not your best friend. He's my closest friend, but I don't see him like that. And because of that, I'm able to still feel attraction. Still, when he walks, I see him walking towards me, my heart beats a little bit faster because I don't see him as a friend. I think you should
oh,
never really see your partner ever as a friend. It should always be that hot guy or that hot girl or that hot person that you met. I mean, do you agree or disagree with that?
um, I think I slightly disagree, but only
Okay.
slightly. And I see what you're saying, and I totally agree with where you're going with it. Or
Hmm.
I guess the point that you're making, I agree with. But um, I think you need to have a lot more come long term. And I'm talking long term, like 20, 30, 40 years, right?
Hmm.
When you're growing old with someone and that chemistry and passion start to fade a bit, and that sexual tension that you may have once had starts to fade out as well.
Mhm,
You need to be able to have someone that you can sit down to dinner with
mhm,
and not have to pull your phone out to be entertained. That you can have a conversation and you can still talk to, 30 years down the road. Can you go out to dinner and have a conversation in a public place and have something to talk about? How often have you been in a restaurant where you see an older couple,
mhm.
even a younger couple? It's really sad when you see a younger couple, but when you see a couple out at the table next to you and they're both on their phones, or they're just staring at each other and not talking, and it's like, oh my goodness, I do not want that kind of relationship when I get older.
Yeah, I see that actually way too often. Like when we go to Palm Springs and we go out to dinner, it seems like a lot of professional couples are like that. Like you could tell they're like upperly mobile or something, but they're both like completely consumed by their cell phones. And I do see some older couples where maybe one partner is on the cell phone, the other one's staring off into space, just like you said.
Bored.
Yeah, and it's a little the funny part, and this is just an observation, this is not everyone, is when I see older straight couples and like the husband is obviously in his own world and the wife is just there with like between a frown and like I don't know what the look is, like resentment or just like she's thinking of something that she's not telling him. And I see it in too many older couples sometimes where it's like the guy is just completely oblivious to her feelings. Like just last night when we were at Disneyland, I saw this older couple. Maybe they were like in their 50s or 60s. The husband, he wants to still appear young or whatever. His wife, not so much. So he's like left her, like walked under this gate, under this fence, it was like gone. And she's like struggling. He doesn't turn back one time. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like he is gone. And she is looking around like, where is my husband?
I would have been
And
like, hey, jackass, you want to come back and get your wife?
I mean, I would love to say that, but it's just like, yeah. And I see that with too many older couples. Like, is that a lack of compatibility too? Or they just grow tired of each other? Or what is that?
I think that's what
Yeah.
you have to keep the spark alive in a
Yeah.
relationship. So, for a lack of better word, that's a lack of effort.
Mm,
You stop
yeah.
putting effort in, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why people say, like, I want to marry my best friend because I don't want that to happen. I don't want to
Mhm.
be that couple
Yeah.
where we don't have anything in common. We don't enjoy each other's company anymore. But
Mhm.
really, when you think about your friends, your close friends, you have compatibility with them.
Mhm.
You don't have chemistry with them, that you have compatibility with your friends. At
Yeah.
least I hope you do. Otherwise, you may need to rethink your friendships. But, and so, yes, like you need to have compatibility with your partner, but you need to have chemistry as well. And, if you want to be in a relationship where you're lacking that chemistry, the chances of you being tempted later on in that relationship
Mhm,
go up tenfold because
mhm,
you do need that. You need to have that connection on different levels with a partner. And you're not always going to find that,
mhm.
you really aren't. And I know I've seen couples who've been married for, 30, 40 years that don't have that chemistry. They just have compatibility and it's okay for them and it works for them. So, when we talk about these things, everything that we're talking about is general, right?
Yeah,
The masses. We're talking about the big population of people. We're
yeah.
not talking about everyone because I can't tell you how many times, you know, I put out a video or I
Mhm,
put up a post and people are like, well, that's not me. And it's like, well, that's wonderful that it's not you, but it's most other people,
mhm.
most part, it's majority.
I do feel though, like the people that are first to say that's not me are usually the ones where it's exactly who they are and they're refusing to see it.
Of course.
Yeah, if you reacted that quick to it with so much passion, you might have to rethink it a little.
Right,
Yeah,
because that means it's triggering for you. Why is it triggering
exactly.
for you? Because it's
Exactly.
making you face something that's probably true.
Hmm. Which is so
Yes.
interesting. People they're so transparent sometimes they don't realize it. And I think that affects dating. Now, do you think chemistry can be created in a way? Like,
I think it can grow.
okay.
So, like when you go on a first date and you're like, there's no chemistry. It's
Hmm.
a first date. Like, is there any attraction at all? Is there any potential there at all? If it's a
Hmm.
yes, then go on a second date.
Hmm.
Because someone just told me the other day that they're on date number 3. They just went on date number 3 with this guy. And she was like, initially I was attracted to him. So I said yes to a
Hmm.
date. And I didn't really feel like I had chemistry. But she's like, now I feel like the chemistry is starting to grow.
Hmm.
And so we explored why. And sometimes it's because people are a little shut down.
Hmm.
So if you're a little shut down, or if the other person has a little block up, you're not going to feel that chemistry right away. And
Yeah.
sometimes you need to be able to kind of just relax into
Hmm.
the dates or the new relationship that's growing. And
Hmm.
then that chemistry will be there.
Hmm.
So it can take a little time. And sometimes people don't feel chemistry after until a first kiss.
I have to say I kind of agree because I remember my first date with my now husband. We had a good time. We spent 4 hours at this sushi restaurant in Manhattan, just talking. And it was a week between our first date and our second date that I didn't think I was going to see him again because we just, we went on a date. We didn't really plan a second date, so we just went on our ways. And then a week later, I was going I was doing a helicopter ride over Manhattan because I used to do, or I still do sometimes, aerial photography. So I got in a harness and we were hanging out at the helicopter shooting over top of Manhattan. And he decided to hit me up that day. He didn't know I was doing that. But then after my helicopter ride, we spent the entire day together going to different restaurants around the city. We went to a cabaret bar. We took the Staten Island ferry to and from. We walked around. And then that actually is where I would say was the day I think I fell in love with him because we spent so much time together. Like I felt like that's where I learned that we had the chemistry. The first time I just thought, oh, he's cute, he's a nice guy, whatever. But then the second time, for sure. So I think I agree with that for sure.
And that's what chemistry is, right?
Mhm,
The wanting to spend 4 hours on a date versus just an hour or 2,
mm,
right? That's when you know you have chemistry. Do I lose track of time when I'm with this person?
mhm,
Do I think about them when I'm not with them? Do I want to spend more and more time with them? You, I'm going to leave a date with someone who I've been with for like 4 or 5 hours and I already feel like I'm going to miss them.
aw,
That's chemistry.
that is chemistry. I have a friend, and maybe you can answer. I'm not gonna say her name, but she was dating this guy for a while, and she liked him. Supposedly, he liked her. He was married for a really long time, so this would be the first relationship he has after a 20-something year marriage. I think it's he has a kid
Wow.
that has issues. so he can never be independent fully. So they've been dating. The guy never wants to kiss her. He's never tried to have sex with her. And she's kind of a sexual person. And she's like, well, I don't know if she's still single, but she was kind of confused about it. Like, okay, so we're going on these dates. He's attractive. I'm attractive. We're both single, but he hasn't made a move on me. He hasn't even tried to kiss me. Do you think there's a lack of chemistry there? Or could the person just be a gentleman and he wants to go at it? Like, what do you think could be happening there?
I hate to say it, but I would put gentlemen down at the bottom of that list of possibilities. I hate saying that, and I'm sorry, guys, for whoever's listening, but
I was assuming it's just not that into you. I mean, it's that simple.
how much time did they spend together?
Well, at the time that I last heard about this was maybe 3 months of dating.
And he won't kiss her?
Hasn't attempted to,
After
but
3
he
months.
like hugs her or holds her hand and stuff like that.
Oh,
There,
that is straight up compatibility only.
uh,
That is a beautiful but like budding friendship. But that's it.
yeah, that's what
There
I'm
is
thinking.
no chemistry because let me tell you, no gentleman waits 3 months.
Yeah,
Any gentleman listening right now is going, no, I'll be a gentleman and I'll wait like 2 dates.
yeah,
And I might
because
ask even.
yeah, because do you
But
think men are more primal, and that's why it's like if they want something, they're gonna make sure that person knows.
100%.
Mm,
100%. And I know a lot of people hear this, and I hear a lot of women try to convince themselves of, other reasons. But when it comes to
oh, that.
heterosexual relationships, men and women, if a man is interested in you, he is going to pursue you
Mhm.
100%, even if it's only sexually
Yeah.
and not for a relationship. And that's where the confusion comes in, is whether or not someone is only interested in sex or a relationship. But if he is interested in you, if he is feels chemistry,
Mm,
or if he has any kind of attraction toward you, he is going to pursue you.
mm. With something, a kiss, something to show that he has sexual romantic interest,
He's
right?
going to try and touch you in some way.
And not just like, let me hold your hand like we're like
Right.
5-year-olds or something like
Right.
that.
He might try to pull the whole I'm going to touch your hand while we're talking kind of flirtatious thing.
Okay.
And yeah, so that
See, I was thinking that too. And like you said, the whole convincing yourself of something else, I do feel like a lot of people end up in these situations with guys or girls or people, and they spend more time convincing themselves of something that is so freaking obvious to everyone else. And I don't know why that is. Even in the past, for me, I would be dating a guy and he rarely calls. He only wants to hook up at 2 a.m. But yet, somehow, I think he wants to be my boyfriend. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. I mean, if he was interested in dating you, he would ask you on a date. I feel like some of my female friends and even some of my gay friends make it's in their minds, they have men to be way more complicated than they are. And honestly, I don't think men are that complicated. They're pretty simple. If they want
no,
something, they go after it. If they don't want something, they put no effort. Simple as that. So if you're in a
they're very
situation,
simple.
yeah, if you're in a situation, the guy is not trying to, be explicit, not trying to fuck you at some point. I'm sorry, he's not that interested.
Men are simple. It's just it is that
Yeah,
simple.
yeah. It's like
And it's
there's really
not
no more to say because it's literally that simple and people just don't get
right.
it.
Because don't get me wrong, like I understand men can be complicated
Yeah.
because they want what they want, and some men are brought up from childhood to believe like you go after what you want and
Mhm,
you get the career and you make a good living so that way you can have a family and take care of your
mhm,
family and be the provider, and it's just this like ongoing like spiral of what society has taught men, which we need to start reteaching.
we really do.
um, but they're simple for the fact that they want something, they go after it.
Yeah.
But they get complicated, and women find them to be complicated because now they want someone who checks all of these boxes.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes difficult. And so that's where I think women get confused because they're like, they're really not that simple. They're not that easygoing.
Hmm.
They're simple because it doesn't take a whole lot to
Hmm.
please them.
Hmm.
But, if you look at dating apps, the laundry list all the shit that they want in a relationship. And it's like,
Hmm.
do you really need all of that?
Yeah.
Like, do
There
you need a
is,
woman to go fishing with you?
which is so weird. Thank you for mentioning that. I was working recently on a show and we were down in San Pedro for a scene. And there was this guy with a girl on like a little like peninsula thing with like water all around them. He was fishing. He was way into it. I could tell she was there because, she likes him and he probably gives her a good D.
Mhm.
So, but at one point she was like, okay, I'm gonna start packing this shit up. And then I see her like make her way to the beach. Then she sits down on her cooler, doesn't move for like another 40 minutes. So he is still fishing, doesn't turn around, wants to look at her. He is in his bliss. So in my mind, why is it so important for guys to find a girl that likes to do their sporting hobbies with them? Like I feel like you should be able to do that either with your friends or on your own. And if she's interested, great. If she's not, why is that a deal breaker? Because seeing either either or men or women bored out of their fucking minds on a date with their boyfriend or husband because of something they love, that's not really great. Because there's things my husband does that I'm not into. I'm like, you know what, go do that, have fun, I'll see you later. And there are things that I do.
And that's healthy.
Yeah.
That's healthy to say,
Yeah.
um, my parents are probably a great example who, divorced when I was a child,
Oh.
of not being super compatible. But they had massive chemistry.
Mm.
Uh, luckily, because that's how I got here. But my father was
Obviously.
that person. He was that fishing guy. He
Okay.
wanted to go fishing, and he was that guy who would be like, "Honey, let's go fishing." And my mother would be like, "Great, now what do I do?"
I mean, it would probably have been better if they just went their separate ways for that day, honestly. Because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, like we had a cottage that we used to go to for the whole weekend, and
Mhm.
like when we were kids, it was great for us kids, but like I could see how my mother would just be bored out of her mind, and they weren't
Yeah.
like compatible in that way. She
Yeah.
didn't give a shit about fishing or any of that. Like
Yeah.
she did it just because he liked it. And I'm not putting my parents down in any way because
Mhm.
they had a beautiful friendship,
Mhm.
and I am so blessed that I am a product of divorced parents who got along, and we got to have Sunday dinners together, and we had every holiday together, and like my parents were just really really good friends. But that's a great example of they
Mhm.
had compatibility,
Yeah.
no, as friends,
Yeah.
as friends only.
Yeah. I kind of I don't envy it, but I do I it's interesting to me when I see people, children of divorced parents, because my parents were married to the very end, till death did them part. But at the exact same time, my mom and my dad had such a fiery relationship. They didn't hit each other or anything like that. I didn't watch them like but my mother was very domineering. Up until I remember the last time I saw my dad alive, the weekend we were there, she was yelling at him, saying, "Oh, you're a piece of shit." My mother, she just gets angry. She's a nice person, but she's very, 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 very
Hope she doesn't listen
emotional.
to this.
Whatever. I said it to her. So she's just said these things to him out of anger. People say things out of anger. And honestly, growing up, I love both my parents. They're both great in their own way, but I did kind of sort of wish they would get a divorce because my mother was obviously not happy in
Mhm.
the situation. If she's yelling at my dad all the time, up until the last time I saw them, it was still like I was a teenager. She's yelling at him, putting him down, and now he's dead. Um, but I wish my parents would have gotten a divorce because I think they would have each had a healthier relationship with each other and then with
Yes.
us, because I had a totally different relationship with my dad and a totally different relationship with my mother, two completely different worlds. And the they had their things that they did together. Like they love to travel together, they love to go to casinos together. So they had things that they did together. But outside of that, I actually kind of wish my parents would have gotten divorced. I think things would have been much healthier. So I think there are some couples who stay together because of kids or because this is what we're supposed to do. And I actually don't think that that's completely healthy. If you're not compatible, if there's resentment and there's the chemistry is it's like this and then like all the way down and up again. I don't know how healthy that is. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I hear so often where people are saying, I'm ready to divorce my wife or I'm ready to divorce my husband, but when the kids are out of the house, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Why do you want your
why?
children to witness an unhealthy relationship?
Yeah,
Why do you want to expose your children? Do you think your kids are that dumb that they can't
exactly.
see through this facade that you put up and act like you like each other?
Hmm.
You're coexisting at that point,
Yeah,
especially if the children are young still.
yeah,
So why not make the choice to go your separate ways and show them what healthy, happy relationships look like?
exactly. Because I'm not gonna lie, for the longest time, my husband is my very first healthy relationship. And every single relationship prior, I was like my mother. I was yelling at the guys, I was berating them, I was putting them down all the time. I would go from like happy to extremely mad at them in like 10 seconds because they're not doing something that they're supposed to be doing because I'm not happy. I was literally becoming my mother in all my because I was never, I was shown two people together, but not compatible.
Right.
I mean, this is just I could be totally wrong. You know, my parents could have had a passionate relationship, and I've only seen like when they were in their bad days. But in my observation, it didn't seem like that. So saying that, I'm just like, I really think it's healthier if people are mature enough to just part ways, because I feel like that leads to domestic violence. It leads to kids growing up with like emotional issues. I'm still dealing with emotional issues to this day that I'm slowly working through because of my upbringing. I don't want to blame them. I'm an adult. It's my fault if I'm still doing it. But there's no denying that my rearing is a part of my emotional makeup and how I deal with my relationships. And I'm just now learning to have healthy relationships with another person.
I couldn't agree more. You know, watching my parents as a child before they were divorced, man, to get two Italians in a room together that are pissed off. Wow.
Woo!
Dinners were messy.
Yeah.
Shit was flying against the wall, and I can't remember how many toasters we went through because my dad would either punch it or stab it with a butter knife because he'd
Oh
get
my,
pissed off.
well,
Like
Italian,
hot-tempered Italians.
passionate.
So, you know, when I was really young, it was intense when my brother would have to like be like, let's go play Go Fish in my room. And so you can't hear them arguing. Even
Mhm.
though I knew what he was doing, I appreciated it nonetheless.
Yeah,
But I was very grateful that they had the wherewithal to know this isn't working. We need to separate. And it was a little messy in the beginning, figuring out who's moving where and how the kids are getting, shuffled back and forth. But
mhm,
eventually they found a really nice schedule that worked for everyone.
mhm.
And it was lovely having parents that could have a conversation and can still laugh together and joke
Yeah,
together and be around each other as friends.
yeah. And that's I feel like
But
that's the one
it takes
thing
a lot.
it does take a lot, and that's the one thing I honestly feel like I was missing growing up. Like laughter and happiness, everything was always intense and serious, and maybe that's because we're African American family and this is society we live in, and that's just a result of that. But at the same time, I'm listening to a lot of my friends. Oh yeah, I would grow up and me and my mother would sit and laugh and watch Disney movies and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, my entire childhood was either being yelled at or like we were angry about something or something was pissing someone off. And just listening to these happy stories of these happy families. Every family has their issues. I'm not gonna make
Absolutely.
it seem like the grass is greener on their side. We had some things that were very happy. Like I spent my entire childhood going to Disney every fucking year. So to other people, that might seem beautiful. Like last night when we were at Disneyland, which reminds me of my parents, there was this um, Latin family or Portuguese, something like that. It was like three couples together with all newborn kids. All the women, they just had their kid, one was breastfeeding. Every single dude was not paying attention to his family. They were all watching a soccer game. And every time the kid would do something, the father would turn, sit down, and then go right back to the game. I'm like, oh my God, that boy is going to grow up with some interesting
You were
relationship
at Disney?
at Disney watching a soccer game on their cell phones and
Oh,
barely
man.
paying attention to their kids. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of my childhood. The parents are so consumed by their own desires that they
Mhm.
forget that there's a child there that they brought into this world. Sometimes it seems like kids are having kids. Like I felt like I was
Yes.
watching like adult teenagers who I guess I fucked a girl and she has a kid now, so I guess I'm a dad, but they're acting like children. They're not paying any attention to their kids, not paying any attention to their wives. I find that very interesting.
It's selfish. It's putting your needs before the needs of your family.
Mm,
If you know there's this amazing game on that day, don't go to Disney.
yeah.
Don't go to
Or just
Disneyland
watch it
on that day.
later. Like, you can rewatch games. I don't understand. I feel
Well,
like,
that's true too. But I think real sports fans don't do that.
yeah, they like to watch it live. I get it.
Yeah,
I get
because
it.
then they're afraid they're gonna like hear something or see
Mhm,
something on social media that gives
mhm,
it away. I get that. I
mhm,
understand wanting to see it live, but then
mhm,
don't take your families on a trip to Disneyland
mhm,
where you have children, you have a wife, you've got babies. Come
mhm.
on.
Yeah, and I
Like,
can see the
be
wives getting
smarter.
visibly irritated with it. Like they'll look over at them watching the games and roll their eyes. And I'm just like, is that a compatibility issue? Is that because I know sometimes people get together, it's not for compatibility, it's because traditionally they need to find a person and have babies. So fuck compatibility. She looks good, she likes me, we do things together enough to keep us entertained. Let's have a family. Do you
Mhm.
think compatibility goes out of the door for like people who seek traditional relationships or they have to find a mate through tradition?
Yeah, I do think sometimes, it's that whole expectations, those boxes that have to get checked. Like,
Mm,
I'm at a certain age, I want to have a family, I want to be provided for. Do they check these boxes? Yes. And for some, it's a cultural, they need to have
mhm,
cultural similarities.
mhm,
And so they'll end up with someone who fits into that, who can get along with their family, their parents, siblings,
mhm.
whatever, and just deal
Yeah.
with that.
Like, it looks good on paper, they look great in pictures, but that's literally all it is. There's some people that are passionate about dating their same race. It's like they completely overlook, like, compatibility, doing things together. No, he has or she has to be fill in the blank. I will
Right,
not date anyone if they're not fill in the blank.
right.
And I'm like, that's completely I mean, if that's the case, just close your eyes, pick someone and marry them. Like, if that's how you're approaching love, I mean,
And maybe they did.
maybe they did.
Maybe
Because
those couples did that.
you know what? Maybe. There's this show, I don't know the name of it, and those of you listening, please forgive me, but it probably won't be hard to find. But there's a show on Netflix, and it's about Indian marriages. And these weddings are
The
so
matchmaker.
the matchmaker, that's exactly what it is. And it's so interesting, these couples where some you would see the son or the daughter fight back against tradition. And it's like, no, I want someone I have fun with. And the parents are like, no, 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 no. You marry this girl, she's nice. You get married to her. And the son is like, no, I kind of want love. And it's so funny that even today, with a lot of traditional like cultures, the younger kids are slowly pushing back against that, saying, okay, I will get married, yes, but I'm not marrying anyone. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life, with just some person that you're forcing me to
Right,
be with, or because, it looks good and you get to tell all of your friends, oh, he or she met a nice traditional fill in the blank. You
right.
know, I think that's actually, do you think that's healthier that they're doing that? Or I mean, we don't want to tell
I
people
don't
to keep
want to
their
step on
culture. Yeah,
culture,
yeah. We don't
right.
want to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But,
but I get it,
mhm,
to some degree when I was a kid, because I grew up in an Italian neighborhood and I
mhm,
came from a traditional Italian family. in my head, I was thinking, I can date all I want, but when it comes down to it, I need to marry an Italian man because I need to have purebred little Italian babies. And then maturity kicked in.
Mhm.
And I realized, well, that's absurd. And why is it absurd? Because I can still teach children my traditions.
Yeah.
But how beautiful would it be to teach the children my partner's traditions too,
Yeah.
and to have them experience two cultures?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit small-minded to say I only want my child to experience this one culture and this one way of living, this one tradition.
Yeah.
When there's just in my
Mm.
30s, I decided to move abroad and like live in Korea and Italy and England and experiencing all these different cultures. I realized, oh my God, I'm a culture junkie. I love learning about other people.
Yeah, it's really cool to like even simple day-to-day tasks when you learn you do it one way and a culture does it a completely different way. It's fascinating.
It's
And I
so
love
cool.
seeing like little kids that are bilingual. It's the most refreshing thing to see like a little either they're speaking Espanol or English, or they're French and English, or their native African language in English, or they're multiple languages. It's so refreshing to see young kids growing up, and it's normal to speak more than one language, where they're embracing all these different, because growing up for us it was very, we are in our communities, that is our community, we are only focused on our communities, that's it.
Hmm.
And the world is so rich, and I'm not envious of kids that are growing up with bilingual not bilingual, biracial parents, but it's nice to see that, like especially like half Jewish half black kids, like can you imagine, like you have your Jewish traditions and then you have your African traditions, and you get to like experience both of those.
Absolutely.
That's kind of freaking cool. And it's, I think I respect people's tradition, but I think there's a huge value in us just really starting to embrace one another.
I think that's a really good point that you're bringing up, because when you think of compatibility, I think people think like, well, now they don't have compatibility. But that's not what compatibility is, right? Compatibility is lifestyle, the way that
Hmm.
you personally live, not your traditions,
Hmm.
not your religious beliefs, but how
Hmm.
you live day to day. So,
Hmm.
yes, you can have compatibility, you know, that biracial couple or bicultural couple has probably more compatibility than these people that you saw yesterday at Disneyland, even
Yeah.
though they probably decided, we have to marry within what we know and within our
Yeah.
religion or within our culture or within
Yeah.
our tradition or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Or I need to marry the person who can provide for me because I want to have a family and I don't want to
Mhm.
have to work and whatever it is you're seeking,
I mean, those are all not bad as long as you find
Right.
someone that values the exact same thing. There's nothing wrong with tradition as long as both people value tradition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to have the same value system.
Mhm.
Do you value, you know, exercise and nutrition and being healthy? Because if one person does and the other person doesn't,
That's a little struggle.
that is a massive struggle,
Yeah.
and can two people meet in the middle for something like that? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you can. So you don't have to have it on date one.
Mhm.
Not everything has to happen on date one.
Yeah.
But eventually, for it to really last, which is why most relationships fail between that 3 to 5 month period, because
Mhm.
that's when we really find out, do we have true compatibility and
Mhm.
can we merge our two lifestyles?
Yeah.
And what am I willing to bend and be flexible on? And what are you willing to be flexible about?
Yeah.
And can we make that work? And
Yeah.
then usually it takes a couple of months to realize, oh no, it's
No.
not going to
I
happen.
yeah. There's too much emphasis put on first dates. Do you agree or disagree?
Way too much.
Mm.
Way, way, way too much. Yeah, I put my clients through what I call 51st dates.
Mhm.
So I give them 5 months and I tell them you're going to do 51st dates, and you should see the looks I get from these people when they're like, "I'm sorry, how many?" 50
Why is that?
first
I'm
dates.
sorry, how many? That's so weird.
Right. That's why you get
What's
5 months.
yeah.
Dating has become your career now.
Hmm.
Um, no one has ever needed to get to 50.
Hmm.
I barely ever see anyone get to 20, to be honest. And
Hmm.
usually when they do get to 20, they kind of backtrack to, someone that they met previously. And they're like, I kind of like that person. I kind of want to go on some more dates with that person.
Hmm.
And that's usually what happens. Before I started doing this program with clients, I did it myself just to see like how successful and how realistic is it. And I think I got to date maybe 11 or 12 before I realized like I want to date this person.
Hmm.
Now I went on to like date 15 or 16, but then backtracked.
Hmm.
But it's a really great way to find out if what your compatibility and chemistry is with people, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to recognize it right away,
Hmm.
to just kind of kick out like first date, first date, first date, first date. And it
Hmm.
also releases a lot of the pressure that people put on a first date. If
Yeah.
you're the type of person who goes on a dating app and you don't get a lot of interest, and all of a sudden you have a first date and it's your first date and like weeks or even
Hmm.
months, you're putting a lot of pressure on that first date because
Yeah.
you're feeling lonely. You really want it to work.
Hmm.
You want it at least to lead to a second or third date
Yeah.
versus somebody who's got 50 dates they have to do and they're like, you know what, I ain't got time for this. I'm just gonna like blast through these first dates. And then what you don't realize is that you're actually being you. You're
Hmm.
just calm and relaxed and you're just having fun and enjoying the company with this person. And there's not so
Hmm.
much pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. 50 sounds, now that you explained it, it sounds more like I can see that where the tension eases a little because when you think of the first date, you think, oh, because movies, once again, it gives us this illusion that we go out to dinner, there's a table with a cloth on it, a fucking candle, we're together, we're having Italian food, and we're just hitting it off. And if that doesn't happen on the first date, there's something wrong with your relationship. And I think a lot of people give up on like potential partners way too quick because of first date. I mean, someone could have jitters on the first date. They could be nervous and feel like, oh, what if this person doesn't like me, which I'm pretty sure everyone feels. So if you at least go on a second date, that
Mhm.
that's past. So now it's just, okay, now they somewhat like me. So let me just be myself. So if I can see that taking away a lot of pressure instead of us saying, if we don't hit it off on the first date, on to the next. And I think that's a lot how a lot of people approach dates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, like, for one, I've been on first dates where I can clearly see that they are nervous
Mm-hmm.
and they are stumbling over their words.
Hmm.
And I don't know what else I can do to try and make them feel at ease. I
Hmm.
went on a date once where this guy shimmied.
Shimmied.
He
Like
was so
shimmy
nervous.
like
He
this.
shimmied. He did like this little shimmy when he would talk. And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? But after a couple of drinks, he calmed down and he stopped doing the shimmy. And I was like, oh, okay, you're just really nervous.
I've never
Cool,
heard of
cool.
that before. What the fuck is that?
It was the funniest thing. And I was just like, can other people see us? Like, what are you doing? He just got so excited when he would like start to talk and he couldn't help it, but his shoulders did like the shimmy afterwards. And I was just like, I don't think he knows that he does this. But like I said, after a couple drinks, he calmed down. He looked a little bit more grounded and stopped shimmying. And
Ah.
but people get very nervous on first
Mhm.
dates
Yeah.
for various reasons. But we need to be a little bit more forgiving and
Hmm.
flexible
Yeah.
with how a first date turns out.
Yeah.
Now, if there's massive red flags, then hell
Yeah.
no, don't go on a second date. Don't be
Exactly.
stupid.
Yeah.
Trust your
Yeah.
gut.
Yeah.
But if you're like thinking, I don't think there's anything there because I don't know, I'm just a little mediocre about this person. Like they're really nice. They've got a lot of things in common with me. They're cute, but that spark wasn't there. Oh my
Hmm.
God, people, fuck the spark. Pardon my
Yeah.
French.
Fuck the spark.
Fuck the spark.
Yeah.
It will come
Yeah.
if you're meant to be together.
Yeah.
So is it going to kill you to go on a date number 2 or 3 with this person to see if there is a
Hmm.
spark?
Yeah. relying again way too much on movies and reality TV and The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, all these shows that make people think that all love is, honestly, Disney movies that makes people think that there's this magical Now, it does happen on rare occasions, I feel like, but it's not the norm. I think these things, just like you've been saying
Right.
this entire episode, it grows. Like for me and my husband, it grew for us. And now it's like I can't even see my life without him. Like sometimes I think like if we ever got a could we get a divorce? Like, could I see myself dating someone else? I feel like we are so compatible. I kiss, it's like, what else would there be? Like, it would have to be a guy that looks like him, acts like him, but I guess I don't know what else would like when you find the compatibility, you kind of know.
Right.
And I
Right.
think it takes time. Like if attraction is there, go with it.
Yeah.
If you find
And you're
anything about them attractive, just go with it.
and you're right. Occasionally you get that situation where it's instant, you
Mhm.
know. A friend of mine was telling me a couple years ago about how when she first met her husband, it was the first date. She's like,
Mm.
I slept with my husband on the first date. We knew immediately that is different. So you
Mhm.
cannot compare that to this whole chemistry and compatibility. That is a connection.
Yeah.
And very few people have a true connection to where you just know.
Yeah.
Have you ever met someone, just even a friend, and you're like, we're going to be friends. We're
Yeah.
definitely going to have a friendship. We're going to know each other. And no matter what happens in your friendship, you always work things out. You always come back together.
Mhm.
You have a true connection.
Yeah.
Relationships can have the same thing.
Yeah.
Most people don't find their person that they have that true connection with,
Mhm.
and that's fine. It doesn't mean you can't have healthy relationships, but
Mhm.
occasionally, for all of those people out there listening going, I have that with my partner, like we had this instant attraction and we've been together ever since. That's because you have a true connection, a heart connection, a
Yeah.
soul bond, for
Yeah.
lack of better word, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to find that, but when you
Mhm.
do, good for you. Don't let
Do
that go.
do you think it's luck, or do you think it's someone just being open to options and to what comes their way?
I think it's being open,
Mm.
you know, being open to receive whatever that is
Mhm.
and knowing that it might come in looking a little bit different than what you had expected or what you were hoping for. That's true openness to
Yeah.
a relationship, is knowing that, you know what, I might find my person and they might not be what I had in my head.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to be open to meet people and see what happens. And when you meet that person and you're like, wow, like
Mhm.
we have this weird connection. I don't know what to do with this, but I'm going
Yeah.
to go with it. That's
Yeah.
being open.
Mm. Yeah. I agree. I feel like I was like that with my husband because at the time I was dating this other guy. We had a great sexual connection. That's really all it was. Like we would be together intimately. Some fun we would do together. It was okay. But I was at the point where I was like, I'm not getting in another relationship until I have a connection with someone, until I meet someone that I used to say makes me not want to cheat. And when I say that, if I don't want to cheat on you, it means that I'm intellectually stimulated by you, I'm sexually stimulated by you. Like I feel like as humans, there may be like feelings where we want to do things with other people at some point because we're humans. I think attraction never goes away. But if you
Right.
find someone that makes you feel something, that makes you feel secure in a way, that makes you feel like I don't have to look for someone else, I think is that compatibility? Is that seeking compatibility? That feeling?
I mean, think about it. Like you said, we're human. We're going to be attracted to people. You're going to be attracted to somebody who walks by on the street. You're going to watch a movie and be attracted to someone.
Mhm.
You may even end up in a job where you're attracted to a coworker,
Mhm.
which that's dangerous, but it
Very,
happens,
very
right?
dangerous. Yeah.
But if you are secure enough in your relationship with your partner, then for one, you don't need to act on it.
Mhm.
And two, you can actually have a conversation with that person to say, like, this is happening. You know,
Yeah.
how many times have you've been in a situation where so I had a relationship once and it was very compatible, lacked a
Mhm,
little chemistry, but we were able to do that. We were able
mhm.
to sit and watch people walk by and be like, damn, she's got a nice ass, and have these conversations. And know that, you know what, he's not going to go try and like sleep with her now because I agree with him that like this girl who just walked by had a banging body, because
Yeah,
I can appreciate a good looking female just as much
yeah,
as I can appreciate a good looking male.
yeah.
But it's healthy to be able to have those conversations with your partner,
Mhm,
or to not be jealous if you
mhm.
catch your partner checking someone else out. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean they're going to turn around and go cheat.
mhm.
That's all on you if you're really worried about it. You're either
Yeah,
not talking to your partner about it, or you've been burned in the past that you're just really concerned that that's going to happen again.
yeah. And if you are really concerned with that, that's probably a sign that it's not the healthiest relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
don't feel that
absolutely.
way.
It's
Like, I
time to
don't
start looking.
that's I that like, I see my husband attracted to other men. He like some of these football players that he follows, sometimes he would go on and on and on about them. I'm not jealous. I'm like, if you wanna like, I love you. If you feel at some point that our relationship isn't what you want, then that's we'll have to talk about that. But I can't be jealous because I feel like if I get jealous of every little thing that he's into or likes or wants to do that I may not be into, and I think it's going to ruin our relationship, then we really don't really have a relationship. We don't have a connection. We don't have chemistry. So I think what you're saying is super true. It's like you can't be jealous. You have to
Mhm.
trust the compatibility that you have with the person. If you don't trust it, then sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
You got to be able to communicate.
yeah,
It's that simple.
yeah. So chemistry at the end of the day, like the same thread in all of our shows, it's communication and
Yeah.
honestly just knowing yourself and knowing how to communicate.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So,
yeah,
well, I am so glad that we decided to have this conversation today about chemistry and compatibility, because I've been posting it up on social media a lot, and I feel
mhm,
like it's a really important distinction to make when it
yeah,
comes to dating and relationships.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter if you've been dating someone for 2 months or if you've been in a relationship with them for 4 years,
mhm,
to
yeah,
reevaluate, what's important to you in that relationship is really important, and to communicate that
yeah,
with your partner is even
yeah.
more vital. So,
Yeah, I mean, we want healthy relationships for you, those of you listening, and that's kind of the most important thing. The one thing we all overlook, communication. We're afraid to talk to our partner about things. We're afraid
mhm,
to like share things with them, and that's not healthy. It's not
right.
healthy at all. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I would
well,
like to remind our viewers that we do have a new channel, um, our Patreon account.
is that how
Um,
you pronounce it?
yeah, I think so. I think I've heard it like that. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I thought it
Or
was
Patreon?
Patreon. Well, let's just spell it
Okay.
Patreon
Com
dot
forward
com.
slash date smarter sexier. For those of you listening to our show, we love that you listen each and every week. You stream us for free on your favorite platform, your favorite podcast streaming service. But if you want to take it up one more level and you'd like to watch us, we have our account on patreon.com forward slash date smarter sexier, where you can watch our shows and you can even see up to three to maybe 5 episodes in advance before they even hit live on our channel. So for one, we have 2 levels. For the first level, you have access to all the previously released shows. So everything that's already in the public, that's out in the public, you can watch the episodes. For the second level,
And
you
they're
can,
unedited.
and they're unedited, which will be like this video, because I know for sure I'm going to take out the part where I talk about me smoking pot for the free one, but you could definitely hear it. You could definitely hear it in the paid version. So yeah, you get to see. And Andrea, we spoke about that. You're going to be making exclusive content for people, right? Like what
Yes.
kind of like
Yes.
dating advice? Like what were you thinking? Just to give like a little preview.
So, a lot of our conversations that we get into on the podcast stay very surfacey. And so, we're going to deep dive a little bit further in and maybe give some better examples,
Mhm.
and even do a little, for lack of better, casework type little case study,
Yeah.
so that you can really see, we did an episode where we answered questions. And so
Episode 10, yes.
yeah. And so I really want to get even further into some of those
Mhm.
and really kind of explain a lot of technical stuff about dating and relationships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I think it's going to be not that I know it's going to be a great channel because it's awesome that we actually have a place where we could put, because we've been recording every single episode. We just didn't know what to do with it. And we didn't just want
right.
to put it on YouTube because it's like, what's the point of that? But but yeah. So for those of you listening and you want to support our show, we love talking and having these conversations to help you have a healthy relationship. Please subscribe to our new channel at betrayin.com/date smarter sexier. And you can always, of course, find us on any of your platform streaming services. And we'll be coming to new ones over the next few coming weeks. And if you have any questions or comments you'd love to send to Andrea to answer, she's a wealth of expertise about dating and relationships, as she is a certified coach, you guys. So please send those emails over to datesmartersexier@gmail.com, or you can DM us at our Instagram page, Date Smarter Sexier, or Andrea _ the Love Coach, or join our Facebook group, Andrea's Facebook group, Date Smarter Sexier, where the conversation is always going on about dating and relationships and the many, many questions many of us have about dating and relationships, because I'm married and I still am discovering things to this day on this show. So thank you for all the expertise that you're sharing with me, as well as the rest of the audience.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Final thoughts before we sign off for this episode.
we talk about all of these specifics when it comes to dating and relationships, chemistry, compatibility, connection. At the end of the day, you just need to be who you truly are, your true self, and you will find your partner.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. So with that, till next time, guys.
That was great.
Yes, that
This
was awesome.
episode was actually really turned out better than I thought.
What? You were expecting to go bad?
No, because we didn't fully flesh out the episode. And
We didn't flesh out anything.
exactly. And honestly, if I can say, it felt more organic
Yeah.
with us not having all our questions. Because I feel like sometimes in our other episodes are great, but we do have such a plan of questions that it seems like
Mhm.
sometimes we check out and, oh, there's this one question I needed to talk about. But this felt super organic. Like we knew the topic, but we didn't have like a specific set of like, which is kind of what we originally wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fine when it's the two of us doing
Yeah.
it. And I think for the most part, we can do it with guests. We can give them, a couple questions or something
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like it's tough because I want the conversation to keep spiraling into another thing. We talk
Hmm.
about like compatibility and chemistry, and I want it to go into something else and then go into
Hmm.
something else and go like I could probably sit here and like just talk for like
You,
hours.
yeah, and that's why this show is so great.
I know
um,
it sounds a little random.
you mentioned something, and like I think we might want to do an episode on workplace and dating, because there's a
Hmm.
lot of people who ruin their careers because of a bad workplace relationship, and
And
I've
there's a
seen it.
lot of reasons why they happen
Yeah,
and they make sense. And I'm not even going to talk about them because I think that's a great idea that we should do an episode like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Because it's in
Um,
all industries. Your former industry, the one I'm in now, finance, any industry you could think of that has both men and women working together, or gay men, or gay women, or whatever the case may
it
be.
doesn't matter.
It
Yeah.
doesn't really
People.
matter. Yeah, people. I wish we could get someone from like a cruise ship on that episode, because think about those jobs where you're like together somewhere for weeks at a time and you're isolated.
How about
Uh,
flight attendants and
Oh,
pilots?
oh my God. It's like, how do
How
they even have,
cliche is that?
oh my God. So my husband was saying, why don't you become, he was suggesting that I become a flight attendant for a hot second. I was like, a flight attendant? I'm like, no. 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 I'm
I
like,
don't
you
know if I
kiss.
see that, but
Yeah. I'm like, you kiss our relationship goodbye if I become a flight attendant. Like, come on. Let's be real.
I mean, you get to
Uh,
travel a lot as a flight attendant. You get to see the world and
That is all wonderful, but I don't know. Maybe there's an episode there too. I don't know how I feel about couples where one person is always gone, like truckers, pilots, flight attendants, traveling salesmen, archaeologists, any of that shit, where someone is constantly on the go. Professional athletes, like how many of those relationships go, or maybe we
yeah,
should go
but
that way.
professional
Eh,
athletes, I think, are a little different because you're talking about celebrities. A pilot is not a celebrity. Not everyone looks at a pilot and goes, damn, they're sexy.
Mm, yes and no. I mean, I'm thinking of like just the fact, well, because okay, you don't have to, I don't think you have to be sexy to cheat. There's plenty of
No,
like,
no, no. But
oh,
like,
uh,
really, if you think about it, the quantity, right?
mhm,
For an athlete being in the public eye all the time, everyone sees them, there's a lot more temptation happening
that's true.
versus maybe a pilot. And I'm not saying that a pilot doesn't cheat
Mhm,
and can't be tempted to because yes, they are gone a lot, but I don't think that it's as prevalent just because they are gone only a few days at a time usually,
mhm,
and they're not in the public eye. So
mhm.
the only options they usually are presented with are other pilots or flight attendants.
Or dating apps where you just hook up with people real
Ah,
quick.
that's true. I forget about all those stupid apps that allow just random hookups.
Yeah, so many married men that go on like Grinder and Squirt and Scruff, married with kids, wife, kids at home,
Yeah.
on a business trip. Yeah, I'm just here for 2 days. I'm looking to do something before I go home to my wife. I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not doing anything with them, but it's just there's a lot of businessmen out there that are running on these
You're right.
apps. Yeah.
You're right. I see that shit here all the time because I live somewhere that is very transient and
Hmm.
we get a lot of people who come in for business
Hmm.
short term because of
Hmm.
some of the companies that are here.
Hmm.
And then we get people who are just traveling through because we are a vacation spot.
Hmm.
Uh, and I see it all the time pop up on apps where it's like, I'm just here for visiting, I'm just here for travel, I'm just here for work, whatever. Just want to like meet someone. And it's like, do you have a wife and kids at home?
Yeah, it's usually the
Because
case.
that's
Like,
what I'm going to assume.
who's looking to date while they're on a business trip? That's the first thing I think of. Like, it's
They're not. They're looking to
you're
hook
not
up.
exactly.
They
And if you
say that you want someone to hang out with because they're like, I just want someone to hang out with me and like spend time with me and show me the sights and then maybe show me your bedroom afterwards.
they should just put that. Just show me your bedroom. Like this,
I would respect that.
I would too.
I
I
would
hate
totally respect that.
it annoys me sometimes the okay, we said it in the last episode in the show how guys are simple. They're simple, yet sometimes they come up with these elaborate stories, just to get someone to have sex with them. I'm
Mhm.
like, it's if you just say, I just want to have sex, don't say anything else. Like, don't say, I want to take you out. I want to learn the city. I want to see things. No, just be honest. I respect the accounts. I'm not looking for anyone, but I have friends that are single and they show me this shit. But I respect the accounts where they're like, oh, I'm married. I have kids. I just want to fuck. I mean, granted, you're cheating on your partner, whoever that is, man, woman, they, I don't know, but at least you're being honest about it. And it lets me not have if I was a single person, it allows me not to have expectations of nothing more than a hookup. And I think when they put in, let's hang out together or do something fun, you're alluding to potentially dating. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's a problem. Just say you want to have sex. That's
I
it.
agree. Let the other person make their own choice.
Yeah.
Stop taking the choice away from someone else.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if they're not interested in being the other person,
Hmm.
then don't force them to be the other person.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, like that feels like shit when you're the
Yeah.
other person and you didn't know it.
Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like when the partner of the person finds out, they automatically think the other person knows, not realizing your husband or your wife is lying to both of us. Why are you
Right.
coming at me?
They're
Like,
always blaming the
"Uh,
other person. And it's like, well, you tempted my husband or wife or whatever. No,
I didn't know he was married. Like, I legit think a lot of these other side pieces sometimes, unless, like you said, they're an athlete or someone of a public figure, they don't know. Like, I mean, and if they do know, they usually find out like after the third or fourth hookup,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh shit, I'm the other one, but they still like the person. So now they're in a situation. And I think it's completely selfish of men and women and people who hide their relationships just to hook up. Just
Absolutely.
be honest. Like, I just feel bad for people because so how many people end up hoping and praying that the guy is going or the girl or they is going to leave their partner, and then they don't ever leave their partner, and that person's just waiting. I mean, it's a
It
poor
happens sometimes. It does happen sometimes, but because sometimes, yes, you do. You end up cheating with someone that you actually have a real connection with.
Mm,
You know, that scenario we're talking about earlier on the episode when um they are compatible but they're lacking the chemistry, and then all of a sudden this person meets someone where they have all of the things. They have the chemistry, they have the compatibility, and they have a true connection, and they're cheating for years sometimes
mhm.
because they don't want to hurt their spouse. You are hurting your spouse.
Yeah,
You are. Every day that you are cheating, you're hurting them.
yeah,
So do them the favor and let them find someone, get the divorce, get the separation, and let your spouse find someone that they're compatible with too,
yeah,
that they have a connection with. Let
yeah.
them find true love. You found it, you selfish
Prick.
whatever.
Yeah, it is super selfish, and it would be that same person that is controlling and domineering of the partner that they're cheating on. It's, oh, you can't go out. Well, you need to tell me every. So you're off having your fun, and then you're absolutely trying to control that person's fun. It seems sick and sadistic.
It
Like,
is.
I don't know how people have come to this point where that's kind of okay to do, and I don't think it's right to do to another person. It's so
It's
unfair.
not, but people
Yeah.
do stupid shit. I'll tell you this story. So, when I first started as a coach, when I first got into it, I was doing speed dating events, and they had hosted a speed dating event here locally. And long story short, the guy that I was sort of dating at the time
Mhm,
wouldn't make a move. And I was like, you know what? I'm inviting him to a speed dating event. We would
mhm.
go to the speed dating event. He realized I just friend zoned his ass. He makes his move. He kisses me. It's like, I didn't think I had any chemistry with him. And then all of a sudden he kissed me. I was like, shit, we have some serious chemistry. We date for about a year and we break up. And then someone, I'm out with friends one night, maybe like a couple of months after we broke up. And my friend says, this person and his girlfriend of 5 years. And I was like, we didn't date for 5 years. Are you talking about me? We only dated for like maybe just under a year. And she's like, no, 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 his girlfriend. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Turns out he had a girlfriend in another state. And they had been together for 5 years. And when I tried to confront him afterwards, I said, look, we aren't together anymore. I don't give a shit. We were not compatible. But like, do you have a girlfriend in another state? And he's like, no, 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 no. Like, I would have never done that. What the fuck do you know? They are married and they're my goddamn neighbors now. They live one, two, three, four houses down.
I am
And I'm like,
speechless. I
bullshit.
am
You are
absolutely
married to her.
speechless. Oh my
And
god.
I don't care. I don't. And when it first happened, when she first came, my friend was like, do we tell her? Like, does she deserve to know that he was seeing someone else, like that he's a cheater. And I was like, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with it. And it's crazy because I see them. Like I see when she's getting the mail, I see when he's driving home, I see him like out and about because it's kind of a small town. Like it's nuts. I how did I didn't know. I knew something was up, which is why I think even though we were together for so long, we never said I love you. We never
Mhm.
had that level of commitment
Mhm.
because I think deep down I knew something was off. I just didn't know
Mhm.
what it was.
I am speechless. Like,
I was so
uh,
embarrassed. I felt like
no, you
such.
can't be embarrassed. That was him. That's all his shit.
Oh, it's definitely all him, but I was just like, how did
Why
fuck
did you feel
coach?
embarrassed? Why did you feel embarrassed? Like, do you feel like you were the other woman and nobody ever wants to be the other woman or something? Like,
I
was it?
never I pride myself on not flirting and not um approaching other women or other men's men,
Mhm.
right? Like I just would never it's a huge value for me to
Mhm.
respect another person's relationship. I don't care even if we feel like we have a connection. If you are with someone else, I will
Mhm.
not pursue it.
Mhm.
I will lock that shit down because I will never do that to another person. I've been cheated on before,
Mhm.
and that is just it's a huge boundary for me. And
Mhm.
so I just will never be the other person.
Yeah, but he
If
did lie to you, so
he did.
he
And in
did
fairness,
manipulate you.
yeah, and
Mhm.
I wasn't certified yet as a
Mhm.
coach. I was still going through all of the training.
Mhm.
So I was still doing my life coaching and my relationship coaching and my NLP stuff. So like I wasn't done yet. I was
Mhm.
just hosting speed dating events and
Mhm.
so I didn't see it, but yeah, once I was certified and everything, I started thinking like, "Huh. I see
Mm.
it now."
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's just shitty. Like
That is super shitty. That's why I have nothing to say. I'm like, there's nothing funny to be said there because I can't even imagine. I used to be the other guy in one situation, and it's not fun. It's not fun to be
yeah.
a part of someone's lie because someone's getting hurt in that situation, either you or the other person. Never him. Like, look at him. He's married to her. So wait, here's a question. Did he always live 2 houses from you? Did he always live in the same neighborhood, like same neighborhood as you?
So here's the funny thing. I when we first started seeing each other, we lived across the park from each other.
Okay.
And then he moved across town because he bought
Okay.
a house and he moved. And then I eventually moved. Um, and we weren't together anymore.
Hmm.
And then this is like what I mean, a couple of years after we broke up, maybe maybe 2 years later or something like that. um, I moved into a new house,
Hmm.
and it turns out that it's in his neighborhood, and it's unfortunate that he's like 4 or 5 houses down now.
Do you think he could be doing it? I mean, I doubt they're listening to this show, but I mean, they say once a cheater, always a cheater. He could be doing this to someone else right now. Like he could have a girlfriend in San Diego right now, or I
You know,
mean, we don't want to assume, but
he's part of a networking group that I used to be part of. And granted, who knows because of COVID, but like
mhm,
pre COVID, we would see him show up to these events still. He doesn't wear a wedding band. And we noticed that he never talked about his wife.
hmm,
And she would come and pick him up sometimes from them, but she
mhm,
never came to them.
hmm.
And I just thought that was so strange. And I was super grateful in that moment when I saw that and I realized, you know what? That's not my life. Thank God.
Thank God, yeah, because you be her like sneaking around in back doors and shit.
And I don't want that. I don't
No.
want where it's like, oh, I don't go to events that you're going to. I want to go. I want to check it out. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's not my thing and you go on your own, but if we're married, I'm sorry, honey, you're wearing a band. You're
Yeah.
wearing a wedding band.
Yeah.
Like I'm that person. I don't want to be with someone who's like refusing to show the world that he's married.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I will have, if I'm marrying you, I have that trust that you're not going to cheat on me.
Mm,
But like, if I'm going to wear one, you're going to wear one.
yeah. I can't say that I disagree or agree because I'm one of those guys that don't really wear a wedding band. Like I've gone through so many since I've been with my husband. I'm either losing them or they're just falling off of me. So I've gotten now to a point where I just don't fucking wear it. He wears his all the time. I question him about it. Like, is it okay? Like, if you ever feel like you really need me to wear a ring, I will put one on, but I'm always losing them. But that's a little messed up that he's doing in a way to make it maintain that he's still a single guy. He has no one. You say what does he do for a living? He's like in sales or something? Is it something that deals with people having to feel that he's single and they can find him more trustworthy or something like that? Obviously, he's a manipulative person, but I'm just trying to like have
He's
some empathy for this dude. He can't just be a total fuck up, I would hope.
he um he works for a local tech company and he's
Mhm.
a pretty high up supervisor.
Okay.
Um he doesn't really no, there's no reason for it.
Oh,
It's not like he's doing sales.
that's
And
weird. Is he young? Is he like a millennial or is he older?
no, he's in his 40s now. And when this happened, he was I think 40 when we dated,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit younger. I don't remember, but yeah. Like if you're not going to wear a band,
Mhm.
then you need to talk about like she has to exist in some way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Of
So
course.
if he's not going to wear a band, and I understand, like I get it, men don't. If you haven't worn any jewelry on your fingers for years and years and years, and all of a sudden now you got this piece of jewelry on your finger, and you're like, this feels weird. It's
Mhm.
uncomfortable. All right, fine.
Mhm.
But don't act like you're single. Don't
Yeah.
go to an event, talk to women, and never reference your relationship.
Yeah.
Because that makes me wonder, are you hiding her?
Yeah. You have to drop into my wife or my husband. Like
Yeah.
when people start talking to me when I'm on set sometimes, and I can tell they're slightly interested in knowing that part of me. I just, I don't know where. Oh yeah, my husband and I went to blah 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 blah, and that all that those thoughts go away immediately.
Absolutely.
I always have to drop him in there. I mean, I may not post about him all the time, but you can easily click any of my pictures and see him tagged in it. Because I like you should never hide your partner because if you're in a relationship and your partner is hiding you, or he's saying no, no, don't come to my business meeting, or she's saying don't come to my business meeting, it's boring. You won't like it. I don't know. I think I'd be worried about that. I'd be
Right. It's social
slightly,
media,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
They're
he's
not
got
tagging you.
nothing of
Yeah,
her on his social media. I don't even think his Facebook says that he is married.
yeah.
I
Those are
think
like
it's
red
just saying.
flags. So he's legit probably doing to her still what he did to you. And that's kind of sad. It's
Yeah.
not a guarantee,
No.
but if he's still doing all of these things, there's some poor girl out there being used right now.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's
Well,
horrible when we talk about some of these things because they're kind of sad because regardless of your race, your gender, or disability, or anything like that, we all, I think, want love.
financial status.
Financial status, any of that. We all want love, compatibility. I mean, I was reading a story last night about Enya. You remember the singer from the 90s that does all the,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
And
I
she's
love
like,
her shit.
so she doesn't really sing anymore, but she lives in a castle with her cats and her $91 million fortune. And when I say stuff like everybody wants to find love, do you think that's completely true? Because if someone, someone who's rich, single, can obviously do whatever they want, but they prefer to be single. Do you think all humans want compatibility or romance, or is it just some of us or a good majority of us? Like,
Everyone wants a connection to some degree.
okay.
Um, Not everyone needs it at the same level. So not everyone needs the sexual side of things, but they need to feel connected to something.
Could it be family and family only and not a romantic partner?
It could be.
Hmm.
Think of like monks or priests or spiritual leaders. They're feeling connected to source, to God, to whatever they believe in, right?
Hmm.
That's still a connection.
Hmm.
It's just not connected to anything physical. So we need connection of some degree,
Hmm.
but it definitely can look very different for everyone.
Hmm. I always find that interesting because I always assume that everyone wants to, like penguins, we all want to find our life partner, right?
Yeah,
But maybe that's not necessarily the case, and that's just my assumption. Hmm.
right. And I think there's more than one person out there for everyone. So
Really?
you don't think so? You think there's only one person that you're meant for? Well, this might be a nice new other episode idea.
Yeah, because as of right now, I can't picture myself with someone else besides my husband, unless, like I was saying before, I have to meet someone that like blows my fucking mind. Like I don't know what else. I mean, there's like small things, but I'm like that's like one of those. I'm trading out the 80% for the 20%. So I don't really. Yeah, I don't know.
So, like when I think back at different relationships and whether or not like could I have made them work? Yeah, I could have made them work. Um and they did work.
Hmm.
I don't have like these explosive breakups.
Okay.
It's just not how I am.
Okay.
So like when I think back though, and I'm like, that was a really good relationship.
Hmm.
Oh, that one was a really good relationship. And so was that one.
Hmm.
And they were just so different from each other. And we had such different things in common. One might have had a little bit more compatibility versus the other one had a little bit more chemistry,
Hmm.
but people fill different needs for us. And so, if you're with, say you're married for 20 years and your spouse passes for whatever reason, something happens and they die. Does that mean there's no one else out there for you?
Hmm.
No, because your needs in a relationship have changed as well. And
Hmm.
so now you can find someone else and they're not the same person, which is why we can't compare previous relationships to current relationships because everyone fills a different need for us.
This is true. Yeah.
So I do think that we have compatibility, chemistry, connection, all of that with different people for different reasons.
Oh. 'Cause I do wonder about my husband's father. Ever since his mother passed away when he was 21 years old, his father stayed single, still wears his wedding band to this day. And John makes jokes sometimes. Oh, Dad, I know you're hooking up the ladies at the retirement. And he says, No, I'm not. Don't say that. He knows he's joking, but he always says the same thing. No, I'm not. I don't do that. And I find that interesting that 20 years later, he's still, I mean, if it's true, if he hasn't met anyone else or started dating anyone, that's kind of interesting how he's made the choice that that person, that woman was the only person he thought he was compatible with, and he's committed to her till death do them. Well, she's dead, but I find that interesting.
Well, that could be a religious thing too, right? Because there's some religions that believe that you stay as a union even after death.
Really? I didn't
So
know
even
this.
after you die, you're still in a union. So, like, one person dies, they go to heaven. And when you die, you'll go to heaven, be with that person.
Oh, okay. So that's probably what.
So
That's probably
that
what
might
he.
have been. Mhm.
Okay. So I guess it's tricky then when one of your parents dies and they bought like plots together and then one dies, and then the other one's, I think I want to start dating. Like, what happens then? Like, do you still go into? It's a little morbid, I know, but do you still go into that plot, and then your new wife or partner then gets buried on the other side of them? Like, that has to be weird because things are modern now, and people, I'm sure, are switching up. You're
Yeah.
just shaking your head. You're like,
Yeah, things are changing.
that was a little morbid, I know. But okay, so
See, I love these extra conversations we get to have.
yeah, this would be good as an after show. I was actually thinking about doing that for our. Well, I might have to cut this out. Maybe, I don't know. For the Betrayan channel, we just have something
I can
called.
stop it.
Oh yeah, stop it.